everybody, it's Romania Black, and so we've got some OVAs to watch. I'm not gonna lie, I am watching a little bit ahead before I am seeing the comments for the last couple episodes of Wotakoi, Love is Hard for an Otaku, because I just couldn't wait. The ending of season 1 did not feel like an ending, and that's where we're at. So, I'm pretty excited to dive into these OVAs. There are 3 in total, and then once I am finished with either Alien Stage on my channel or Cherry Magic on my channel, then I will start to get into the manga. So it may be later on this spring. Once we do that, I'll probably say that at the start of every one of these OVAs from now until I finish. But yeah, that's the plan. So I also want to give a massive shout out to Sunspots, who is the patron over on Patreon, because for whatever reason, these OVAs do not exist on streaming. Listen, anime studios, I understand that you're selling out to Amazon Prime or Crunchyroll or whatever. Studios that are getting the rights, streaming platforms that are getting the rights to these series, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Crunchyroll, whether it's Max, HBO Max, whether it's Netflix, whatever you do, studios, get all of the licenses, get all of them, because it's like, how are we supposed to watch your content when it's not on a platform for us to watch? That's a problem. And so luckily, and my dogs just got squeaker toys for Christmas, so that'll probably be in the background. But luckily, I asked Sunspots, because Sunspots is like Luffy from One Piece, pirating and gathering things from all across the internet. Maybe they've not pirated. Maybe they've just been storing away. Either way, they are like a dragon in a cave, and they just reach in and pull out the treasure that I need, and they're amazing. And I was like, look, I cannot find these OVAs anywhere where it is going to be feasible to stream with English subtitles. Can you help a girl out? And they were like, gotcha. And so massive shout outs to Sunspots. They hooked me up with these 3 OVAs because the streaming platforms in the US are just like, what OVAs? And I'm like, So anyway, do I know anything about these OVAs? Absolutely not. I have no clue what they entail, but I'm excited. Usually OVAs are kind of like, they're mixed bag. You don't know if they are extensions of the main story. You don't know if they're flashbacks. You don't know if they're side stories, if they involve new characters or not. It's kind of just like we don't know what we're going to get. So that's kind of the boat that I'm in now with this series. So I am excited to watch these and see what happens. So we shall see. But in any case, I'm excited. I hope you all are too. Thank you so much for all of your kind words, for your support, for your comments. Real quick before we start, I want to give a shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon. Patreon helps support me in so many ways. If you've not checked out my Patreon, you can go check it out. You can start a free membership on some of the tiers if you want and see what it's like over there. I have 4 different tiers that you can subscribe to that are all varying costs and things like that. It's just basically throwing a couple bones to me as a creator. It helps keep my channel up. It helps me get things for the channel. And it just is a really good way of showing your support. And I am super grateful for it. But those on the philanthropy tier, they show their support a little bit extra each month, more than they have to. And I'm so appreciative. So they get some special perks, one of which is getting mentioned in my videos. So I want to thank Alex Cornejo, Be Happy, as well as Damage3245, Dana, Destiny Marie, Devorin, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, as well as Lyndon, El Freya, Murphew, Willie Morris, we got some new ones on here, Translucent Men, Shimoyama, Daniel, James, Nicholas, Sean, Jason N, Rose Jennison, Diana Williams, CATA, and Rast. Thank you all so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. All of my love. So, yes. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm excited. Hope you all are as well. But we are going to start Wotakoi, Love is Hard for an Otaku, OVA number 1. And we're going to do that here in 3, a 2, a 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. This was absolutely adorable. And if all the OVAs just have the same spirit as the anime does, where it's so slice of life and we're just going to give you little vignettes of all the characters, I'm fine with that. I am 100% fine with that. And I have been wanting to see a little bit more of Kabakura and Kyonagi from their younger days. So I'm really glad that we got focus on them in this OVA. I would really love it if each OVA focused on one of our main pairs. Like this first one was Kyonagi and Kabakura. Then we have like Hirotaka and Narumi. And then I definitely want more Now and Ko focus. I have been craving that. I need more of that in my life. Please and thank you. So yeah. But anyway, so we get this, I like that this OVA is kind of set up around the idea of everybody just meeting up at the coffee shop. It's like Friends. It's like the TV show Friends. They all meet at the coffee shop and that's where things go down. I also love that Now is just used to it. He's just used to Koyanagi and Kabakura being loud and he's like, Now is like the perfect customer service retail worker. Like this man needs a tip jar. I know in Japan they don't tip, but I would give Now all the tips if he was in the US. I would give him all the tips because he's just so polite and so nice. And he just is just so jovial about working at this coffee shop, which anytime I go to a coffee shop, none of the workers there seem jovial, and I don't blame them. I know a lot of people that have worked in cafe shops as baristas or as just people giving away drinks, and I feel like if you work for a mom and pop coffee shop, like the other day I was in town and I saw a friend of mine, and they recently moved to the next town over, and they worked at this little mom and pop coffee shop when they were where I'm from, and they were like, oh yeah, when I worked there, I could just, you could take your time getting the drinks ready because everybody knows it's a local owned business. There's not this expectation that has to be done. It's not like McDonald's, it's a mom and pop shop. And there's that. He's like, now I'm working at this other coffee place that's corporate. And he's like, I have to have this drink done in like 3 minutes or less or I get in trouble. And I'm like, also, no offense. I know that people go to corporate fast food places for convenience, but if you just slap something together in 3 minutes or less, is it really the best? I don't like fast food, so I will get takeout. I will get takeout from like a Chinese restaurant or a Mexican restaurant but I just don't like fast food. Is like, at least when you go to those other restaurants, even though it's takeout, they took their time making it. When you go to a fast food restaurant that has like a drive-through and stuff, it's like, they're just hurrying through it, right? It's like just an assembly line, and I don't know. I know restaurants are the same, but it's just, there are little nuances and differences, but I could feel that when he was telling me the coffee shop story. And I don't like Starbucks. I don't like it. A lot of their coffee has chocolate in it, which I'm allergic to, so I can't have it anyway. And no one ever checks there because I've gotten so many headaches and gotten sick there so many times. We're like, yeah, it doesn't have chocolate. And then I get home and I'm like, yep, it does. So I just don't drink there a lot, but I will go if my friends want to go. I'll just be like, oh yeah, I'll pop in with you. And those poor baristas look like they're worked to the bone. I'm like, and they're just sitting there like, what do you want for your order? So this was super cute. I also love that the cafe has this like mint chocolate chip drink that everybody's getting. It's super cute. Coffee shops are just the most adorable. I love them. I miss them. I miss being in college and writing in a coffee shop. I miss those days so much. But yeah, so she's got tickets to this 2.5D show. I kind of want to look up like what in the world a 2.5D show in Japan is. Like, what does that entail? It's okay. So it's a lot. Oh, it's a stage production. Oh, like a stage musical. Okay. Well, yes, I would go see one of these in a heartbeat. I really think if I went to Japan, I would want to spend like my evening watching one of these because that I would definitely want to do that, especially if it was a series I knew. I would want to get it. Like, so it's like a 2.5D dimensional music. Yeah. So I've only seen a few of those. I've seen bits and pieces of Haikyuu stage performances. I've seen one for number 6. I've seen some for Bungo Stray Dogs. I've seen some for Yona of the Dawn. I've seen that. I really want to see the Orb on the Movements of the Earth one. I want to see that one a lot. I've seen a Given one. I know there's a Banana Fish one. I really want to see it. But yeah, they're basically like stage musicals. Yeah, those are so cool. I love those. I would watch one of those in a heartbeat. I would love to go see one in Japan, even if I had no clue what they were saying. If it's from like a series even if you can't hear and understand with the language barrier, you still know the characters. You still know the acting. It's like, it would still be cute to watch. I would go see one. But yeah, so it's where the actors play duty characters. And I love that Narumi is thinking everything that we're thinking. She's like, how'd you convince him to go? Like, what'd you have to do in the bedroom to get him to go? And she's like, oh, I blackmailed him. Like I've done since day one. Koyanagi, she is devious. I love it. I love that she's like, if I just understand you wouldn't want to go, so I just, we'll just have this extra ticket. And Kabakura's like, well, we wouldn't want to. Koyanagi knows how to play that this man is a secret softie, and she knows how to play it. It's like, oh, girl, you're sly. I love it. And she's like, yes. So I love that. And so that's when Hirotaka brings up they used to play volleyball. I was captain, he was captain, a year above me. So there's a year age difference between them. They never told us what position they play. And I know this isn't a sports anime. We're not supposed to know. I definitely get Sugawara vibes from Koyanagi. Sugawara is a character from IQ that is a setter. I get Sugawara vibes from Koyanagi 100%. I think she would be a setter. They don't really tell us what Kabakura is. I can't picture Kabakura as a setter, even though he can do the jump serve. I can't picture him as that. I picture him as a hitter. He's not the tallest, but he could be a middle blocker. I picture him as a hitter, right? Which would kind of go with the top vibes. A lot of setters are sometimes tops, sometimes bottoms. I'm not going to get into high-Q ships right now, but yeah. I also like that she framed him as the antagonist, which is kind of funny because when you actually get into the episode and you see the flashback, I kind of viewed, I see it both ways. I could see from her perspective why she would think she's the protagonist, but then when he's telling her about teaching about the serve and how that goes, I kind of get a protagonist vibe from him. So how about that? But yeah, so Narumi and Hirotaka, I like they're both like seated, like tell us the story. How did you all meet? How did this come about? And then we get our OP. And sure enough, after the OP is all over, I do want to say, I feel a little bad for Koyanagi in this flashback because there were no third years on the volleyball team. That's crazy. That is like a level, I don't even think Furodate would do that. I don't even think Furodate would be so cruel. TJ Fraser the Diamond, yeah, he'd be that cruel. But a team that has no third years and it just has second and first years, that means there was like a whole year where just nobody stepped up. And so after the year was over, you had like the third years that left the first years to come up and be second years, and that's it. Like, that's pretty wild, right? But understandable. There are sometimes where that happens with teams and nobody's interested. So I feel like Koyanagi already kind of had a hard road to hoe because she kind of had to harden herself as the captain because she's like, I know I'm a second year, but I have to step up and I have to be a leader and I have to be assertive and I have to like show that I'm, going to take this team to the next level. She's like, we're going to make some changes today. Now, I want to talk about this because I totally understand that she's like, you all are hogging the gym and we need to use it. And so please let us share the court. We've been running this whole time. How about we switch off? We're going to use it 50-50 and it's going to be fine. So Kabakura is the third year captain and they're like the girls team. And when they say again, like she's already come once to talk to them about it and they wouldn't share the court. And he's like, she's just a second year. And so they're like, and obviously she like, look, I like how you first heard her entire name, like Koyanagi Hanako. We've got a small gym. The better team gets priority on the court. Now, I get where both of them are coming from because at first he's like, we're the team that's doing better, so let's prioritize about us. You guys need to learn the fundamentals so you guys get the basics down and just run laps and build endurance. But here's the thing. She makes a great point too, where she says the reason our team is bad is because we don't get to use the court. That's a very valid reason. And also, it's not just the guys' gym. It is for everyone. So yeah, you need to share the court and figure out what to do. And she's like, isn't it time you guys do some conditioning? And he's like, don't point at me. And she's like, I'm going to point at you. He's like, we've been doing conditioning a year longer than you have. And she's like, well, even if we let you borrow the court, would you even know how to lead a practice? I think that that's not a very valid reason. I don't think that matters. It doesn't matter if she knows how to lead the practice. She's the captain. They get rights to the gym. Suck it up, Buttercup, and go run outside for half the time and let him use the gym. And him saying, why don't you just observe our practices and try harder next year? That was a bit condescending. And I was like, okay. Or Or how about we be nice and share the quirk since we're at the same school? And she's like, I don't want to have to do this, but this is you, right? I like that she doesn't acknowledge the fact that she's also an animate when she took this photo, but there's him. I don't know who these characters are. One of them looks like Fern from Frieren, and that gets him. He's like, oh, he doesn't want to know. And she's like, I backed it up on my desktop, so yeah. And she very much played the I didn't know you were into nerdy stuff. What are you going to do, Kabakura? I love that she becomes Midorima from Kuroko's basketball in that moment. And she's like, this is a blatant threat. What will Kabakura do? Fight, do what you want, persuade. I wonder what persuade would have been. You're threatening me, and then run, and then it's been a while since we did laps. And he clearly chose the last one. I wonder what persuade would have entailed. That's interesting. What will you do, Captain? I love it. Also, I love that Narumi's like, that's terrifying. Why would you do that? That's the work of a devil. I do appreciate that Narumi and Kabakura both share some similarities to one another. Both of them are offended when their nerdiness is outed, as she gets onto Hirotaka for that moment. But also, beyond just that, she talks about how she idolizes Kabakura and views him as this handsome, like, on a white knight on a horse sort of motif, when Kyonagi and Hirotaka are like, no, he's actually not like that. Not entirely, right? I think it's interesting how they both idolize each other and view each other in like specific ways that are not entirely accurate. And so then Ko comes in. Ko looks adorable in the little short sleeve shirt. I like Ko's like, oh, hi. Like to now. Adorable. Does now know that Ko is a girl yet? I don't think that he does. And so Koyanagi's like, I was pretty scared. You've seen how scary he can be. Which, you know what? I think that's another part of it too. Koyanagi is a second year having to go up against this third year captain who's kind of intimidating and having to stand her ground. And there are a couple comments that the guys on the team make, not Kabakura, but the guys on this team make that I'm just like, that make me just kind of mad and like, what a bunch of sexist pricks, which is very common in high school. But that stuff translates to when you're an adult. So yeah, Kabakura can be intimidating. And they're like, what happened? They're like, are we seriously splitting the court? And why are we doing laps? And he's like, just no complaints. He's like, that damn hag. That was underhanded. And so then the guys start talking about Koyanagi, being like, was she this outspoken last year? And like, since there's no third years left, they made her captain. And she's like, I thought you might cooperate since we have a practice match coming up. There's no way And so while they're complaining about her, Kabakura does acknowledge, she's like, they wouldn't understand how heavy her title as captain is. Like, she has a match coming up. She needs to practice for it. So even though Kabakura doesn't want to give her the gym, he gets why she wants it and why she's fighting for it. He's just not going to roll over onto his belly, you know? He's going to fight her for it. Speaking of full of vigor. Yeah, and then they were like talking about how she's full figured. Those things look super heavy. I'm like, my dude. They've got your hopes and dreams in there. He's like, I get you. But they talked about her being like full of vigor and just like complaining. And at one point, the guys on the team sort of sound like there is this like sexist rhetoric that when women are outspoken, they're being too aggressive and too emotional and a bitch. And I get so frustrated with that because I have seen men get just as emotional, just as vigorous, but it's them being a man, not being aggressive. And I'm like, there's just some coding to some of that language that is kind of like expecting women to be meek and submissive. And I'm like, no, actually, don't think that always has to be the case. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes the lady knows a little bit more than you in the room. Maybe you should just acknowledge that. I don't know. It's very frustrating. I don't like mansplaining and I don't like sexism. And I'm like, just treat people equally. Like, if the guy in the room knows more than me, awesome, great, let's get the job done. But if the lady in the room knows more than me, great, awesome, let's get the job done. But when people make those stereotypes and that, it just creates more conflict in the workroom, and it's just annoying. It just creates a barrier from us getting what we need to get done out of the way. So I love this stereotypical classic, like, sports anime scene. Look, I'm gonna be the first to admit, Kabakura he's got, like, the shirt unbuttoned, he's, like, tall, handsome, with, like, the smirk and the eyebrow, he's got, like, the little bad boy demeanor to him. If I was Koyanagi, I would have been wooed. But what really seals the deal with him is his whole discussion about anime. When he's talking about, she's like, how do you do the jump serve? And he's like, look closely. And when he does the serve and the light hits him and she looks, it might as well be Skate the Infinity at this point. Like, you might as well have Kabakura reflected in her eyeballs. It's the perfect, like, fall in love moment. And so she's like, how did you do that? And he's like, well, I probably shouldn't do it with my shoes on. But she's so, like, smitten in that moment. She's like, tell me how you did it. And he's like, well, if you delete the picture, I'll do it. And you could tell that it's not deleting the picture that worries her. It's that once they delete the picture, is she going to get the gym kicked out? That's what she's worried about. She doesn't, the picture, she's like, well, you know, and maybe she also doesn't want to delete the picture because that's like, she thought it was cute. And she doesn't want to delete it for that reason either. And I like that he's like, well, you know, I said we weren't going to take the court from you. She's like, no take-backs. And then I think the moment that she was like, no take-backs, he's like, she likes me? I'm like, my dude, she's just scared of you and putting up a tough ground. And she's like, do it again. And Narumi is just like, Narumi is me. She's like, did you guys get together then? She's like, no, it was after graduation. And so they try to figure out who's the one that confessed. Now, we don't exactly get an answer. Both, even Koyanagi's memory, Kabakura kind of challenges it at the end of the episode. I think it was them at the same time. I think they both literally asked each other out at the same time, right? But yeah. And so Narumi has this idea that Kabakura had this handsome, like confession that was like stereotypical straight out of a manga. And Hirotaka's like, no. Hirotaka's like, I work with this guy and he would never confess like that. That would not. He's more cautious. Everything Hirotaka said, I was like, yes. Hirotaka is too cautious for that. He wouldn't write a letter because it could be confiscated. He's like, I bet Koyanagi is the one that confessed. So then Koyanagi, I love that Narumi's like, well, that's not true. Kabakura he's exactly like I idealize him. Bless her. She's precious. So then she's like, well, the truth is, and she gets up to get a drink, and that's when we get our little midway cards. Okay, so we have this. I'm glad these are translated. Hell yes. So we have Koyanagi has gaming, which is like virtually nothing. Gaming is 3. That's her weakest. Reading is 5. That's her second weakest. Speaking is a 6. Her strength is a 7. 8. Working is 8, which is pretty high. But hotness as a guy is her strongest quality. And she's like, she's an incredibly popular male cosplayer, devoted to her hobbies, but a bit of a wimp. I know. I feel like Koyanagi is secretly... She's a lot shyer and softer than she wants to let on. So she kind of puts up a front of being this like outspoken, vigorous woman. But it's really just, it's kind of basically what Kabakura does as well, you know. So Kabakura's tactfulness is 0.2. Tactfulness is like the least of anything. Wow. And then everything else is pretty well-rounded. Gaming is 6. Speaking is 7. Reading is 8. And working in strength is 9. A minor, relatively, nerd who prefers anime with cute girls. The dreamy type. His tastes are easily discernible. Oh my gosh. I'm all here for that. That's super cute. All right. So we go back to the flashback in the gym. We started getting help practicing one-on-one. And that's when he confesses, like, how he's able... Whenever he says, you know, it's like you just flip the ball up and then whoosh, boom, bang. I'm like, are you Shoyo Hanada? I felt like I was in Haikyuu again. And I love that Koyanagi's like, just explain it. You suck at explaining things. Which is really funny because he's now in, like, as a supervisor in the workplace. So he has to be able to explain some things. So maybe her getting on to him, like, helped him do that later on. She's like, I'm grateful you're staying after practice, but once this season's up, I won't be able to learn anything from you again. And he's like, well, She's like, you have to have a secret. You do have something I can grasp. I really thought it was going to be like a sexual innuendo and all of that, but that's just my mind in the gutter. I love that she's like, tell me what it is. Just tell me. And he's like, oh my God. And he's like, anime theme songs. Which honestly, you know what? Honestly, I wish she would have said which anime theme song, because she was ready to take notes, and so was I. Mm-hmm. I wish she would have said what it was. But I love his explanation of it, where he says it like, you know, you don't have to use the exact same song, but it makes you like feel like a main character and in the show and everything. And she's like, he's kind of a nerd. I liked it for Kusanagi. I like for Kyonagi, she's not a big anime person, or she's not letting on that she is. And he's like, well, it's cool. And then he's like, in an anime when the main character... I like he's getting such a blushy face with his cheeks. He's like, it gets you pumped up. It's so cute. And while I have it playing in my head, I feel like I've become the main character or a superhero. Like I can dig out any ball. Yeah, and surpass my physical limitations. And the cute heroine is waiting for me. Like I could create a miracle. That's the feeling. I get it. But don't say anything since it's so lame. That would have won me over. At that point in that confession, I would have been just like, yes, please. Hi, how you doing? I would have been won over so easily. And you know what? One thing I really like too is how this series shows like Kusanagi, like her with short hair is such a different vibe than her with longer hair. The longer hair makes her look older. And I feel like the shorter hair is mainly because she was playing volleyball. So she needed it short so it'd stay out of her face. And she's like, every year for the volleyball team, the season ends with the fall tournament. And that's the countdown for graduation. Okay, so yeah, he shows him being as the captain with the number 1. Mm-hmm. He also had like a wrap here, a knee wrap, a leg brace. His fingers were taped. I feel like that the fingers are taped from him like hitting the ball, kind of like Suki. So maybe he was a blocker. Maybe he was a middle blocker. I don't know. But poor him. And then her feeling like emotional for him because, you know, she supports him. And so she knew how much this meant to him. And then him like in their team losing. I love the scene where he's at the sink and she brings him the water bottle and she's crying for him and he like gets to wipe her tears. I love it because it's like, and the cute heroine is waiting for me. And this is that moment. It's so good. Their expressions are great. And he puts the jacket on top of her and like gives her a little head and says, what an ugly face. I thought he was going to kiss her in that moment, but he doesn't. And then you could tell he's so sad about graduating. I love the idea that all of the guys stole everything off of him, his tie, his blazer, his sweats. He's like, every man took them from me. Don't get any fantasies from this. Don't have any BL fantasies from these men taking my things. And you know she probably was, but he didn't know that yet. He's like, it was all guys, don't make me admit it. She's like, there's nothing left for me to ask him. And so he said this, she gave him his note saying, I'll be waiting in the courtyard from someone who knows your secret. That's cute. She's like, well, I didn't say that you liked anime. I love it. And then we cut back to everything we've had this scene flashback before us. And see, when he says here, you won't be here to fight with me anymore, and I'll miss that. So for them, they're just one of those couples that they're nagging back and forth. Their fighting is their banter. That's just their love language. And it's not for everybody. I could not be in a relationship like theirs. I need some tranquility. I need the Narumi Hirotaka lifestyle. That's just me. I have to be in that kind of mindset in a relationship. But I need some tranquility with my partner. But some people like this. And for them, he's like, it's the feeling I get when I'm watching the last episode of an anime I like. I like that she's like, really? You're relating this to an anime? Which is so funny. It's funny because her otaku is not really put out in this episode, which is funny because she's just as much of an otaku as he is. She's like, I can't say that part of you is cool, but I don't think it's lame either. That's why you should be confident and do your best wherever you end up. And she's like, if I don't turn around, today will be the last time, and I don't want to regret. But then she starts to cry, and she turns around and hugs him. she says that he hugs her, but I could see it both ways. When he said that she was the one that initiated it later on, I'm like, I could see that. I could see that. It's so cute, though. I love it. And then I love how he shows up and he's like, you are airing all of our dirty laundry in a public coffee shop where everyone can hear. And she's like, well, if you weren't so loud, not everybody would hear. I love Narumi being like, I was enjoying the story. And Hirotaka's like, she asked for it. It's so cute. And he's like, and Narumi's like, well, it's okay. She's like, I have anime theme songs in my head during my morning commute. Love it. And Hirotaka's like, well, I stop at the arcade on the way home. It's not the anime, but it's kind of the same thing. I love it. I love how they argue on how the memory was between the two of them, but we all know it's true, just to different extents. I like the coasting there on their Switch, like, what in the world are these guys doing? And so then we find out that she saved the photo, and it was the photo of him in the shop. So they end up going to the show, and we find out Kyonagi kept the picture. And yeah, she wasn't ever going to delete that picture. That's like what got them together in the first place. So you know that she wasn't going to delete that photo. And the episode's called It Suddenly Appeared. Love. This was adorable. I loved this. I wanted more Kabakura and Kyonagi. Ask and you shall receive. So I'm so happy that I got to see this. We got one OVA down. 2 more to go. Oh, I really want to know your thoughts about this OVA down below. If you liked it as much as I did, what you thought of it. If you are on my Patreon, thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. If you are not on Patreon, go check it out. And if you don't want to be on Patreon, that's fine. Understandable. Just if you're not going to do that, please leave a like on this video and please subscribe to my channel so the next 2 weeks you can see my reactions to these other OVAs, and then you'll be here when I decide to get to the manga and be notified about that. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm so excited. These next 2 weeks are going to go by really fast, but I'll be back very soon with more reactions to Wotakoi, Love is Hard for an Otaku, and I'll see you there. Bye!